Imagine waking up to learn that a sitting president's Department of Justice had been secretly spying on members of Congress, their staff, and even key figures within the administration itself. It's the kind of scandal that sounds like the plot of a political thriller, but this is not fiction. Under Donald Trump's administration, his Department of Justice engaged in activities that many are now calling one of the most egregious abuses of executive power in modern history. The revelations, laid bare in a damning report from Inspector General Michael Horowitz, paint a shocking picture of unchecked government overreach and constitutional violations. Why did they do this? How could it happen? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future of accountability in American governance? Let's dive into the details. The scandal unveiled. The scandal came to light through an explosive report by Inspector General Michael Horowitz. This investigation revealed that during Donald Trump's first term, his Department of Justice spied on 2 members of Congress, dozens of their staffers, and even members of his own administration. Among the targets were prominent figures like Representatives Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff, both Democrats and vocal critics of Trump. Even Kash Patel, a Trump ally who served in his administration, was reportedly caught in the web of surveillance. The scope of the surveillance is staggering. The DOJ reportedly accessed not only phone records and emails, but also metadata and other sensitive information. This kind of intrusion, without proper judicial oversight, represents a significant breach of trust and raises critical questions about how such operations were authorized and conducted. What did the DOJ do? The Department of Justice accessed phone records, email communications, and other sensitive information without proper court oversight. This wasn't just a matter of overzealous investigation. It was a blatant violation of constitutional rights. The report highlighted that the DOJ bypassed standard protocols and checks, leaving courts completely in the dark about their activities. This lack of judicial review raises serious questions about the abuse of power within the executive branch. Further details from the report show that the DOJ targeted individuals who were part of the Intelligence Committee, which oversees national security and classified information. This action effectively blurred the lines between oversight and retaliation, making it clear that the DOJ's actions were not just invasive, but potentially politically motivated. For members of Congress and their staff, such surveillance undermines the critical checks and balances essential for a functioning democracy. The Republican reaction. When the news broke, Republicans expressed outrage over what they described as a grave constitutional violation. House Oversight Committee Chairman Mike Turner, a Republican from Ohio, called the actions outrageous, emphasizing the implications for the constitutional rights of those targeted. Turner stated in an interview with CNN's Pamela Brown that this behavior from the DOJ struck at the heart of what Americans expect from their government. But here's where things get interesting. While Republicans condemned the actions of the DOJ, they stopped short of blaming Donald Trump. Instead, they characterized the department's actions as those of a rogue entity. This framing conveniently absolves Trump of responsibility, even though the DOJ operates under the executive branch, which Trump directly controlled at the time. Turner's statements reveal the complexity of Republican reactions. On one hand, they acknowledge the seriousness of the violations. On the other hand, they appear hesitant to connect the dots that lead back to Trump, despite the obvious chain of command within the executive branch. This selective criticism highlights a broader pattern of deflecting accountability when it comes to Trump's actions. To suggest that Trump's hands were clean in this matter is to ignore how his administration functioned. Trump's presidency was marked by frequent allegations of using government institutions to settle personal and political scores. Whether it was pressuring the DOJ to investigate his political opponents or attacking members of his own administration who fell out of favor, Trump's fingerprints are hard to miss. In this case, the surveillance activities align closely with Trump's broader narrative of targeting enemies within the government, the so-called deep state he frequently railed against. Even Kash Patel, a loyalist, wasn't spared. This raises a critical question. If Trump was willing to spy on his own allies, what does that say about the lengths he'd go to maintain control? Furthermore, the timing of the surveillance and the choice of targets suggest a deliberate strategy. Adam Schiff, as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, was a vocal critic of Trump and played a central role in his impeachment proceedings. Spying on Schiff and others in similar positions could be seen as an attempt to undermine oversight and accountability mechanisms. The deep state argument. Mike Turner and other Republicans have attempted to pivot the blame onto a nebulous deep state, arguing that entrenched bureaucrats within the DOJ and FBI were acting independently to undermine Trump. While this argument has been a popular talking point among Trump supporters, it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. The DOJ operates under the direction of the Attorney General, a position appointed by the President. If rogue elements existed within the DOJ, the responsibility ultimately lies with the administration's leadership for failing to rein them in. This argument also overlooks the broader context of Trump's consistent efforts to undermine trust in governmental institutions. By framing the issue as the work of a deep state, Trump and his allies deflect from their own actions while further eroding public confidence in the rule of law. This narrative creates a convenient scapegoat, but offers no real solutions to address systemic abuses. The hypocrisy of outrage. It's worth noting the glaring hypocrisy in Republican reactions to this scandal. While they are quick to decry the surveillance as a constitutional violation, they've largely avoided addressing Trump's role in enabling it. This selective outrage undermines their credibility and raises questions about their commitment to accountability. If this had occurred under a Democratic administration, would the response have been as muted? The lack of bipartisan consensus on addressing such abuses sets a dangerous precedent. It sends a message that accountability is conditional on political affiliation, further polarizing an already divided electorate. True accountability requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, regardless of party lines. Broader implications. The implications of this scandal are profound. First, it exposes vulnerabilities in the checks and balances designed to prevent executive overreach. If a president's DOJ can conduct such surveillance without judicial oversight, what's to stop future administrations from doing the same? Second, it erodes public trust in government institutions. The perception that the DOJ can be weaponized for political purposes undermines its legitimacy and effectiveness. The impact on whistleblowers and internal dissenters is another concerning aspect. When government employees or officials fear retaliation through surveillance, it stifles transparency and discourages accountability. This chilling effect can lead to a culture of silence, where abuses of power go unchecked. Finally, this scandal highlights the dangers of partisanship in addressing abuses of power. When accountability becomes a partisan issue, it allows bad actors to escape scrutiny and sets a dangerous precedent for future leaders. The lack of unified action to address these revelations diminishes the credibility of both parties and weakens democratic institutions. Lessons for the future. To prevent similar scandals in the future, several steps must be taken. Strengthening judicial oversight is essential to ensure that surveillance activities are conducted within the bounds of the law. Congress must also enhance its oversight mechanisms to hold the executive branch accountable. Bipartisan cooperation is crucial to implement these reforms and restore public trust. Furthermore, the role of whistleblowers must be protected and encouraged. By creating safe channels for reporting abuses, the government can foster a culture of accountability and transparency. Education and awareness campaigns can also help the public understand their rights and demand greater accountability from their leaders. Donald Trump's DOJ spying scandal is a wake-up call for Americans. It's a stark reminder of the importance of accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. While Republicans have expressed outrage over the constitutional violations detailed in the Horowitz report, their unwillingness to confront Trump's role speaks volumes about the challenges of holding leaders accountable in a hyper-partisan era. As we move forward, it's critical to address the systemic issues that allowed this to happen. Congress must strengthen oversight mechanisms to prevent future abuses, and the public must demand greater accountability from their leaders. This scandal isn't just about Donald Trump. It's about the integrity of American democracy itself. Let's hope we learn the right lessons before it's too late.